Well, good evening and welcome to the Gold Goats and Guns Hour here, or half hour, 15 minutes, whatever I usually do anymore here on YouTube. Here on YouTube, my name is Tom Luongo. It is Tuesday, March 8th, 2022, and we have a lot to talk about. And my God, am I tired of talking about this shit. But we're going to do it anyway because that's what we do. It is Tuesday night. It is what we normally do. Now, for those of you who are new around here, I will do about 15 minutes here on YouTube, and then I will fuck off. And I will move over to my Odyssey channel, and I have the stream already set up on Odyssey. I will put the link in the chat. There it is. Go for it. All right? It will not be down below in the description to the video. You guys should already be moving over and getting off of my YouTube channel and moving over to Odyssey, because that's, well, you know, I come here once a week for about 15 minutes, and that's about it. And the rest of it gets moved over to Odyssey. So if you're interested in hearing what I have to say on my channel, what I stream, it'll be here. All right, it'll be on Odyssey. 15 minutes here to remind everybody to come on over and join the crowd. We'll do that in about, like I said, in about 15 minutes from now. My opening remarks for the evening are going to be as follows. It is very clear to me, and has been for the last 10 days or so, and this being day 11 of the war, that Victoria Nuland and Anthony Blinken and the Neocons are all in charge of what's actually happening in Ukraine. The Russians made real facts on the ground within the first couple of hours of this war breaking out that they were in charge of the situation. And there's no doubt in my mind that that is the case. Now, until this bandwidth starts to improve, things could get a little hinky around here. Hold on for just a second. Everybody shut it down! All right. Let me make sure that everything else is shut down. Well, I've already turned off all my stuff. Twitter, fuck off. All right. All right. So hopefully we'll actually get some bandwidth coming out of this house, and I can actually stream reliably tonight. I don't know if it doesn't look like it's going to be good. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, it is what it is. All right. Maybe it's finally starting to settle down. Okay. So what we're going to talk about this evening. So it's very clear to me, sorry, that the neoconservatives in the Biden administration are the ones covering all of, or are setting the tone and setting the tempo for all of this. It's very clear to me that that's been going on. And Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has been the one actually making all of the pronouncements about what America's policy will be in Ukraine. And you can, without a doubt, see that almost every day. Blinken makes an announcement. Oh, we've greenlit, people sending, anybody who wants to send weapons over to Ukraine, you can do that. And we've seen him do this 3 or 4 times now, only to have the country in question turn around and go, "What are you talking about, dude? That's fake news. We're not doing that." Oh yeah, no, Poland's going to send troops into Ukraine. No, we're not. The Poles are like, no, absolutely not. You're not going to do that because I'm not interested. We're not interested in getting, killed by the Russians. It's just not going to happen. So, and then yesterday or the day before, I know all the days just fucking bleed together anymore, to be honest with you. We saw the Russian Ministry of Defense put out a statement saying that they have evidence that of, U.S. backed and U.S. Payment of and backing of bioweapons labs all over Ukraine. And then what happens today, but Undersecretary for Eastern Europe, Victoria Nuland, or otherwise known as the architect of the fucking Maidan uprising, and the woman who was most instrumental in making sure that the right sector Nazis were put in place in Ukraine after the overthrow of Yanukovych back in 2014, that that there's bioweapons labs all over Ukraine, and we're worried about them falling into the Russians' hands, because then the Russians will do bioweapons attacks all around the world. Now, there is not one shred of evidence that the Russians have ever engaged in a bioweapons attack of any kind. I loved what Nuland said today. What she said was, well, it's very clear, Senator Rubio. Well, the two of them, like the two fakest fucking people in the goddamn in our fucking government, sat up there this afternoon lobbying shit back and forth to each other, saying, well, it's very clear that the Russians always accuse everybody else of that which they're actually doing. That's really fucking rich coming from someone who literally reads from the Alinsky fucking playbook every damn day. Like, fuck Victoria Nuland and fuck her inner stupid twat. Like, seriously. This is the fucking world we're dealing with, you stupid cow. You're threatening, you're blackmailing the world with nuclear fucking war, and you're playing these fucking games on Capitol Hill while you and Marco Rubio play fucking footsie during a Senate Foreign Relations Committee meeting? Seriously. One more time with feeling. There's the Odyssey link for 10 minutes from now. So it's very clear to me that Blinken, who's like ass deep in this thing and was ass deep with Nuland in the amplification of the uprising on the Maidan, which led to the overthrow of Yanukovych, which they then architected the coup and the government that was then put in place, and the constitution that was put in place illegally, according to Vladimir Putin. Okay? Like, these people are all involved in this back in 2014. They are directing the policy now, without a doubt. In every way, they are involved in this. And so it's very clear at this point that that's who we're dealing with. She finally came out from behind the shadows, and it's her war. And there's no doubt in my mind that it's her war. So I want everybody to really understand that's what we're dealing with now. And there's just no way of getting around this at this point. And she's a crazy woman. And she's the worst of the neocon crazies. Okay? And there's been a lot of talk recently about, so I saw Sheryl Sandberg, the vice chair or whatever of Facebook, COO of Facebook, comes out today and says, well, if a woman was president, if two women were president right now in Russia and the United States, there would never be a war. Bullshit. Women don't know when to stop fighting. Only when the other side is dead do they stop fighting. Everybody knows that. Anybody who's gone through, it's crazy. This is especially women like Nuland. Like, we've got to get the women out of this. I'm actually more worried about Ursula von der Leyen, the head of the European Commission, being in charge of the European Commission than I am anybody else. I mean, if Herbert von Rompuy or freaking Jean-Claude Juncker were still in charge, none of this would never happen. But von der Leyen? Oh, von der Leyen is going to go all the way to the freaking wall on this because she's a fucking ideologue, and in no way, manner, shape, or form is this going to get me fucking banned from YouTube, but I don't give a shit anymore. Like, this whole feminist idea that men are more aggressive than women is bullshit. Our aggression is different. Men will fight up until the point where there's no purpose in fighting anymore, and then it will stop. How many times you watched a freaking movie, you see two guys beating the shit out of each other, and then when they finally realize that they can't beat each other up, they go, all right, that's enough. And then, they hug it out and they move on. Women can't do that. My wife watches movies, watches guys do this shit all the time, and she's like, guys, like, that would never happen never happened with me. I'd be looking for the fucking knife. And my wife is not a vindictive person that way, but when you get her dander off, it just comes out. That's what happens, and you're in a fight to the freaking death, and they don't know how to stop. They don't have an off switch for this shit. When you get their dander up like this. Like, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Never heard that before. Like, so the last thing we want is women driving all of this policy. And what is the World Economic Forum doing? Putting women in charge of all this policy. So the last thing I want at this point is for Joe Biden to have a stroke before they get rid of Kamala Harris. God forbid that they get rid of Harris first, then Biden has a stroke and they put Clinton in charge. I say this on International Women's Day on purpose. Yes. So Nuland's war is everybody's loss, because it's going to hit us in the pocketbook because she doesn't give a fuck about anything else. She cares about one thing and one thing only: beating the Russians. Nothing else matters to her. Doesn't care how many people die. The best thing that can happen right now for all of the civilians in Ukraine and for everybody around the world is for the Ukrainians to surrender. Period. Their army is beaten. There are pockets of resistance. There's pockets of Ukrainian armed forces all over the country. From what I read today, the cauldron is finally formed up completely around the 12 battalions in the Donbass. They're pretty much going to be either starved out or have to be bombed out of existence. And there's another one forming in the West. They don't have any command and control. They don't have control over the air. They don't have control over their any real air defense systems. They don't have a military. They don't have a navy. They don't have any other control. What they're getting is satellite image support and logistics and intelligence from the United States. Putin's already basically called them out on this. All right, so we're looking at this situation. This is over, and the Ukrainians are not being allowed to surrender because the United States doesn't want them to surrender, because Victoria Nuland has been very clear she wants to set up, just like Blinken, they want to set up an Al-Qaeda-like insurgency out of Poland, run out of Poland. And the Poles are like, we're not really sure we want this, but it's been going on for years. And again, Whitney Webb wrote a great article about this. I linked it in one of my recent articles. That's on my blog over tomluongo.me. You can read it there. You can get a link to it there. Read it. Be horrified. And these people will sit there and regurgitate the most blatant and brazen fucking lies simply because they're the ones that picked this fight. I was talking to, I was doing an interview this morning, and you know, and the interviewer tried to make the point that, you know, well, Putin as peacemaker is a dead idea because he started this war. I'm like, fuck that. We picked this war. Putin just picked the time. I told him flat out, I'm like, that's not fair. That's a bad assessment. That's a terrible take. We picked this war. Period. We're the ones that refused to negotiate. We're the ones that refused any kind of diplomatic overtures. We're the ones that sent Victoria Nuland to Moscow in November. The Russians had to lift the sanctions they had against Victoria Nuland in order to allow her to go to Moscow. And then from what I've understood, she walked into the Kremlin, she wasn't even allowed to meet with Sergei Lavrov or Putin. She demanded Putin. She got Ryabkov. Okay. She didn't get either Lavrov or Putin. And then she tried to read the riot act to him and said, if you guys don't surrender to our demands and let us and let us put weapons and add NATO, Ukraine to NATO, like, prepare for war. And then she stormed out. And they just told her to go fuck herself. Very politely, I think, or not. And then she was sent home. And then the Russians like knew exactly after Nuland showed up and read the Russians the riot act. Then the CIA director, William Burns, right? No, yeah, William Burns. It's not Robert Burns. It's not the Scottish poet. It's William Burns. Shows up and tries to like, no, really, no, we didn't mean it, and she didn't mean it. No, bullshit. And then 2 weeks later, the Russians published their written demands to the United States. This is what you're going to sign off on, or fuck you. Like, this has just been going on for months. And the Russians kept saying, no, we're not going to let you constantly convene new summits and keep talking while you continue to army the Ukrainian army, and you try to smuggle nuclear weapons into the country, and you try to do this. No, fuck you. We're not doing that anymore. You do this. You sign on the dotted line by this fucking date, or fuck you. And then when that happened, they picked the date. Everybody stood there going, holy shit. And now they're all trying to figure out what to do. And the only one happy about all of this is Antony Blinken. and Victoria Nuland, because they got the goddamn war that they wanted. That's where we are. And that's why you're going to suffer $10 a gallon gasoline in parts of the United States this summer. That's why everything that's coming out of the Biden administration, which we're going to talk about when I get over to Odyssey, is being done in order to further the Davos agenda of undermining every ounce of quality left within the United States political, economic, social system between now and the midterm elections. Because because the Biden junta understands that they've got until November to pull all of this off and to destroy the U.S. in order to try and save Europe between now and then. We're going to talk about what I'm seeing, what I've seen today, and all in terms of the headlines and everything else when we get over to Odyssey. So one more time with feeling, here's the link to the Odyssey stream. For those of you who came here late, there it is. If you don't, and we'll see you there soon. So there's my YouTube rant. Now let's go have some real fun. All right, we'll be back in about 5, maybe 7 minutes as I pick music and rejigger OBS. All right, you guys be well. You take care. We'll talk soon.